Called to order at 5:37 p.m. And Madam Secretary, can you please call roll?
I'm sorry, Chairperson David Heredia,
Present?
Vice Chairperson Raul Velasco,
Present.
Commissioner Carlos Barrera,
Present.
Commissioner Jason Gavilanes.
Present.
Thank you.
Ms. Chavez, can you lead us in the invocation, please?
I'm sorry about that. Please bow your heads in prayer with me. Our Heavenly Father, we are thankful for our city and for those citizens who give of their time and efforts to serve on the Traffic and Safety Commission. We ask that you be with these commissioners as they consider those matters which come before them, helping guide them as they make important decisions. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Gavilanes, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Yes, with pleasure. Will you place your right hand over your heart, please? Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And Madam Secretary, was the agenda posted according to state law?
It was posted according to state law. Thank you.
Okay, and this is the time given to the public to speak on agenda and non-agenda items. Staff, were any comments received?
Yes, I've received 2 comments. So the first one reads as follows. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Carmen, a resident in the 6000 block of Granger Avenue. I'm looking forward to the traffic analysis for agenda items 10 and 11. My cross street is Loveland Avenue and Granger Avenue. A 4-way stop sign was recently installed a few years ago, and as much as that was a great addition, it is still does not provide enough safety for us residents. We often hear vehicles passing by high speed and always are concerned because of how long our street is. One could say our street starts at Loveland Avenue and ends at Foster Bridge. There are no turns, curves, or such. Therefore, it makes it appealing for speeding. I know there is a process to installing speed bumps. Therefore, I am interested to hear what the traffic engineers have researched. In addition, a recommendation of traffic analysis for Suva and Loveland, where Suva Intermediate is at, would be greatly appreciated. I often pass by the school dismissal and it is a mess. Double parked in red, blocked driveways, and such. My biggest concern is that the school bus cannot get to the designated spot due to the multiple cars parked in the bus assigned spot, therefore putting our kids' safety in danger. Thank you for your time. Blessings, Carmen. And we've received a second comment that was received in Spanish, so I will be translating it. It says, to council and leaders of our city of Bell Gardens, us residents of Perry Road need your help and understanding for our safety, specifically between Loveland and Foster Bridge. We are very worried because of the rapid way which motorists drive through this street. Please, we need your help to put speed bumps so that it can reduce speeding. Thank you for your attention. Sincerely, Maria Morales. Those were the 2 comments received. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and I need a motion from a commissioner on approving the minutes of the meeting on September 7th, 2021,
First motion.
and a second.
I'll go ahead and second.
Okay, and Madam Secretary, can you please take roll call vote?
Chairperson Heredia,
Yes.
Vice Chair Velasco,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Gavilanes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and get into our first traffic safety analysis. Ms. Chavez, will you please give the report?
Yes, good evening, Chair Heredia and members of the Traffic and Safety Commission. I will turn this request for a four-way stop sign at Gallant Street and Get Park Avenue over to our traffic engineer, Dennis Barnes, for the technical analysis and presentation. Thank you.
One second, please.
Yes, this is item number 8 on the agenda, is that correct?
Item number 8 on the agenda should be Fry Street at Scout Avenue, request for a cross street.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, good evening, commissioners. The city received a request for consideration of a crosswalk at the intersection of Scout Avenue and Fry Street due to reported speeding activity. I conducted a site investigation of the location to confirm the existing geometrics and other constraints that may restrict the installation of a crosswalk. Figure 1 in your report gives an overview of the location, so that you have a good view of what is being discussed. Figure 2 gives a diagram of where the proposed crosswalk was requested. In terms of existing conditions and site distance, Fry Street's a 2-lane residential street, posted speed 25 miles per hour, parking both sides. Scout Avenue is a 2-lane collector street with a posted speed limit of 30. Residential homes both sides, and there is further to the south, there is some commercial buildings there. I referenced the 2015 speed survey, and it gave me an approximate volume of 5,700 vehicles per day from Florence to Florence Avenue to Florence Place. There were no other reported traffic volumes that I could report. Time did not permit taking new counts, but I applied a growth factor of 1% per year. And so present day volumes are estimated about 6,100 cars, vehicles per day on Scout. Field review revealed there were some parking obstructions that need to be corrected. In the report, I've taken some pictures to show you, presented in figures 3 and figures 4, which shows that vehicles are parking on the one curb return as shown in figure 4. Figure 3, there's not only a trash can, but there's a vehicle parked at the ADA ramp as such. So that's one issue that was observed in the field. There were no other restrictions that would, also in figure 6, there's another one showing that we have existing red curb and there are vehicles that are encroaching into that red curb. So there's a case where perhaps some additional enforcement by PD would be a chance to issue some warnings as such to improve the visibility at that intersection. After a careful review, I concluded that the installation of a new white ladder crosswalk as shown in figure 2 with raised pavement markers on each side of the crosswalk could be installed. Also that we would put 2 feet of red curb as recommended on each end of the northwest corner as shown in figures 3 to give the visual deterrence for vehicles parking and also allows for citation of vehicles if they violate. Also, the red curb that is existing is recommended to refresh the existing red paint that is out there. With that, I would now, so the fiscal impact, I also included that as well in the report. It's estimated that The approximate cost would be about $450, the value of installing that crosswalk at this intersection. With that, I will now open it up to the members for further discussion and questions.
So there's no questions on my end. It seems that visually there are a good amount of vehicles that are being parked illegally on the red curve and a lot of obstruction. And from what I can see when I've traveled through that area, there does need to be a crosswalk to help pedestrians cross safely, especially children. So I would accept the recommendation placed by Dennis on adding the curvatures and repainting the red curb.
Okay, I need a motion from the commission
I first motion.
And I'll second.
and this. Okay. And Madam Secretary, can you take roll call vote, please?
Yes, and I'm sorry, who seconded that motion, please?
Me, Velasco.
Okay, thank you so much, Vice Chair. And yes, roll call. Chairperson Heredia,
Yes.
Vice Chair Velasco,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Gavilanes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and on to the next agenda item. Ms. Chavez, can you please give the report?
Yes, Chair Heredia and members of the Traffic and Safety Commission, and I apologize for reading the incorrect item at the last number 8. I was looking at last month's agenda, so I apologize. The number 9 this evening, we have a traffic safety analysis that was also conducted by Mr. Barnes for the intersection of Garfield Avenue and Ira Avenue in relation to reported cars not stopping for the stop sign at the intersection. So I will also refer to Mr. Barnes for this report. Thank you.
Thank you. As noted in each report, I've stated that basically we received an investigation. The complaint was that they were not stopping at that intersections before proceeding on to Garfield. They stated drivers passed by very quickly. They suggested putting a radar feedback sign as well as raised white markers, something that we see out on the freeway. In terms of page 1 of your reports, gives you an aerial view. Pictures are provided to give you a location. Page 2 provided some additional pictures to give you some of the existing conditions. Figure 2 gives you a kind of a close-up view of that stop sign. Figure 3 at Ira there, again, looking a little bit further in advance, and I detected that there was a faded warning sign as noted in figure 3, which needs to be upgraded and replaced. Figure 4, I would give a different angle and view so you can see the location of the residence that was filed the complaint or brought it to our attention of the vehicles not stopping. That figure also gives you a view of a street view of where the stop sign is. Page 3 of the report, in terms of the investigation analysis, my observations in the field, number 1 is to replace that faded warning sign in advance. I'll give a motorist some advance notice of the impending stop. Another recommendation or consideration was to add the reflective tape for the sign, stop sign posts, like we did and most recently another location. Another option that I considered at that stop sign was to consider a TAPCO or other brand solar LED stop sign. I've installed those before. They work very well. It increases the visibility to the motorist before arriving at the intersection. Also, I should mention that these particular stop signs with their flashing LED, they can be installed with a time clock, so you can turn on the flashing at different times of the day and can have them 24 hours a day or just certain times so they don't interfere with maybe adjacent neighbors in bedtime, perhaps. Sometimes if it's too bright, they will sometimes bring it to the city's attention to turn them down. The TAPCO brand that I presented in this report has a circuitry that it automatically can monitor time of day and so forth to increase or decrease the brightness of the sign. I provided some just background information on the blinker sign, just for information, so you can have a little feel or what the capability of these flashing LED stop signs are. With that in mind, my recommendations after looking at all the facts, there was really no accidents occurring there, was number one on page 4 of the report. Conclude to replace the faded existing warning W3 warning sign shown in figure 3. Add the reflective strips to the existing stop sign that is out there for the southbound direction. And to replace the stop sign shown in figures 2 and 4 with a blinker 36-inch solar stop sign to enhance visibility. In terms of the fiscal impact, to put that tape, the signpost is estimated to be $900. I believe the funds are available in the current street maintenance budget. The estimated cost for the solar blinker stop sign, depending on the brand that's used, can vary from $2,200 to $4,900. The TAPCO, which is a higher end stop sign, prices out at about $4,900. And with that, I open up to the members for further discussion and questions.
I had a quick question. I was just wondering if we had any LED stop signs anywhere else in the city.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that please for me?
Oh yeah, I was just wondering if we had any other stop signs with the LED lights in the city.
Not to my knowledge in this city. I've used them in other cities, but not yet in Bell Gardens. I could refer you to a location in Montebello if you're interested in checking out what they look like, but they're very effective in terms of bringing attention to a motorist that it's time for them to come to a stop.
Thank you.
Well, it being Garfield being a very busy street, and the fact that this particular intersection leads to the park, well, obviously there's a lot of children that walk to, a lot of families that walk to the park. So I think having a high visibility in this area will definitely increase safety. I'm completely aware that this LED flashing stop sign wouldn't be installed right away, but will definitely be helpful during the summer months when people are walking to the park more often, but also during the winter months when it gets darker pretty early. So I think it would be a great addition for safety of the community.
Yep, same here. I agree. It'd be nice to start getting these into the city. I have seen them in other places, and like Dennis said, they're very effective. Let's see, need a motion from the commission
I first the motion.
and a second.
I'll go ahead and second.
Okay, Madam Secretary, can you please take roll call vote?
And I'm sorry, before you go on, can you please confirm that the motion is for action items 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah, so this would be for all 3 items. Motion from the commission.
Thank you.
I'll take roll call vote. Chairperson Heredia,
Yes.
Vice Chair Velasco,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Gavilanes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commission. And regarding timing for items 1 and 2, I expect that the new sign and the reflective tape can be installed within the next month. and we will keep you informed on the illuminated stop sign. That would probably be presented as part of the budget presented to council for next July's budget. Thank you.
Thank you. And on to agenda item 10, traffic safety analysis. Ms. Chavez, will you please give the report?
Yes, again, Chair Reddy and members of the commission, we have before you a traffic safety analysis for Perry Road in response to requests from reports from residents of speeding activity taking place from Florence Place to Loveland Street. And again, the report will be provided by Mr. Dennis Barnes. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. On page 1 of your report, like all the reports I provided in an aerial view to give you a location as what the project limits are of the request. Page 2 of the report, I have additional street view pictures showing what it looks like going north on Perry Road and looking north by Veterans Park. You can see the angled parking there and so forth. Also, I provided, because there was a request for consideration of speed humps, I always have to check out the width of the road. So figure 4 shows that it's 38 feet, which is less than the required, less than 40 feet. So it meets that criteria. Page 3 of the report, I go into more of my field investigation and what I found. Perry Road's a 2-lane residential, 25 miles per hour. Because there's a request for speed humps, the latest methodology they've been using at the city here is we've been counting for 4 days. So we count on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So to eliminate the complaints, well, they're only speeding on the weekend. So we took 4-day counts. They were taken, and on page 3 of the report, I have a summary. It showed that the average daily traffic volume ranged from 5,100 on a Thursday to 4,200 on a Sunday. So a little bit of activity out there. Our speed hump criteria, we like to see over 500, which complies with LA County, but we also have a caveat of 2,500. So it definitely meets that criteria. We look at the 85th percentile speed. Perry Road indicates 85th percentile speed of 33 miles per hour or 8 miles greater than the posted. And that meets the city's speed hump criteria. And that's based on a recommendation that the city's guidelines are based on from ITE, the Institute of Transportation Engineers. A speeding problem exists on your roadway if that 85th comes out 33 or 8 miles above or higher. So the criteria was met in terms of the speeding, and also I've indicated in the report that 59.2% of the vehicles, both directions, were traveling above the speed limit. And of course, the Parker is right there. So I'm sure we didn't count pedestrians, but they are basically speeding. For your informational purposes, I've included on page 3 if you look at the report or the speed survey reports that are attached, the 50th percentile, the 85th percentile, and the pace, so you'd have some reference or background information as to what those figures, what they mean. Page 4 of the report, I mentioned about what a solar feedback sign was. So that was the consideration, which is shown on figure 5. We have some of those installed throughout the city. However, my recommendation based on observation and the speeds that were recorded in the field is the installation of 2 speed humps on Perry Road. We've met the street width requirements. There is a speeding issue. Volumes are slightly higher than the current policy, but within the limits of the LA County guidelines. A submitted survey showing that from at least 51% of the property owners along the affected portion is required to support their installation. So the recommendation that I presented to the commission is request city staff to send out a notice to the fronting property owners, residents on Perry Road from Florence Place to Loveland to determine if the residents desire speed humps be installed in this section of Perry Road. We need a documented majority of 51% of the property owner's residents residing along the affected street to support their installation. I've also provided, I probably should have maybe put before, but the estimated fiscal impact for that is approximately, it could be up to $24,000. In the past, we've installed, staff has been able to, public works maintenance staff has been able to install those out in the field. And we've done a number of streets within the community. With that, I now open it up to the commission for further discussion and questions.
Yes,
Uh,
I
I
have a
had-
question.
oh.
Oh, go ahead, Jason.
I just had one question. It was just about the speed humps. Will they be installing 2 speed humps?
Yes. Yes, that's correct. So if you just put one speed hump in the middle of that section, then people would, they slow down and they speed up. But typically the spacing of the speed humps, the recommended spacing is for that length would be 2. So it varies from 300 to 400 feet spaced apart. So that you go to 1, you're still, they go over the hump. As I recall, the research information shows you that after you go over the hump, the speeds go down about 8%. So we will also show is we don't want them to speed up and start racing down the end of the street. So now you have another hump. So the 2 humps would maintain that lower speed profile through the duration of the project limits there.
Okay. No more questions. Thank you.
And as a refresher, if the city does send out those notice or the potential speed hump, I know there's a lot of multi-family units. Does each unit get a letter, or is it just for the property owner?
That's just be the fronting or the property owner per the current policy, the way it's written. So you could have an apartment with 100 units in there, but there's only one vote for that fronting property that's fronting on Perry Road. So we'd get the street address of all those properties that exist within the project limits. The notice would be sent out when they come back, and then Veronica would then look at it and see if the numbers meet the 51 percentile requirement of the total number that we would come up with.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, actually, you have one question. So if we go forward with the approving the recommendation, would that be for the speed hump and the solar radar feedback side?
No, the request is to submit the petition, to
Submit the
mail the
petition.
petition to the homeowners so that they can either show support or opposition to the proposed speed humps. And if more than if the criteria is met, then we could proceed with moving forward with presenting the item to council for approval, and then the installation would take place after. The speed feedback signs, as noted in the report, there's no current budget for it. But if the commission voted to recommend the installation of the speed feedback signs, that item would also be brought forward in the next year's budget.
Okay.
Okay, I need a motion from the commission to go with staff recommendation for speed hump survey.
I first a motion.
In a second.
And I'll go ahead and second.
Madam Secretary, can you please take roll call vote, please?
Yes, Chairperson Heredia,
Yes.
Vice Chair Velasco,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Gavilanes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so for the next agenda item 11, another traffic safety analysis. And Ms. Chavez, will you please give the report?
Thank you, Chair Redia. The next item is for a traffic safety analysis conducted by our traffic engineer for Suva Street from Foster Bridge to Loveland Street. And this is also in response to speeding activity. And Mr. Barnes will provide the report. Thank you.
Thank you. On page 1 of the report, I try to give a little background information as to, again, there was a speeding complaint traveling from Suva Street through the stop sign at Loveland and also traveling northbound to Foster Bridge. Again, I conducted a site investigation, took pictures to confirm the existing conditions. An aerial view is shown on page 1, and I have figures 2 and 3 looking north and south. On page 2 to give you an overview of what it looks like. Again, I measured the street width there because, again, it looks like a candidate for speed humps. So I collect all that information or quantify it at the very beginning. And also I wanted to show that picture in figure 2. You notice that one of the as part of the complaint is that installing the radar feedback side, there's already an existing sign there as shown in figure 2. And also in figure 3, there's another location from the other direction. So we have radar feedback signs out there already, but there's still people are speeding out there. Figure on the next page 3 report, I think that we've included some pictures to show you one of the recent improvements up there at Foster Bridge there and Suva Street. So it shows you that a raised island was installed with a crosswalk, and also gives you a picture of the items mentioned earlier about putting reflective tape on the stop sign post. So at nighttime, it lights when the headlights shine on it. It kind of like gives you lights up, so you're very visible or noticeable in the evening. In terms of the investigation, again, other than complaint about speeding again, I requested that we take additional counts out in the field. So on page 3, I talk, it's right next to an elementary school. School signs, we do have radar feedback signs there, but apparently there's still some speeding issues. The counts were taken over a 4-day period. Page 4 of the report, I provided what the results were. So on a Thursday, it ranged from like 3,500 vehicles in one day, and on a Thursday, it was on a Thursday on Sunday. So again, during a school week, Thursday 3,500, and then 40 on a Sunday, we recorded 4,200 vehicles on a Sunday from Scout to Emo Avenue. For Loveland to Foster Bridge, the ADT was less. It was down from 1,100 vehicles per day to 708 on a Sunday. So the real activity or most volume, as one would expect, is near the school, either activities on the weekend or when school is in session, parents and dropping off children or picking them up. The speed profile, which was included, the ADT counts and speed profiles were included with your reports. And I always like to look at this because this is kind of key here. Combined directions, northbound, southbound, Suva Street indicated the 85th percentile, 37 miles per hour. That's kind of significant because it's supposed to be 25. People are going 85th. They're going here like 37. That's why. And then the 85th percentile of 34 or 9 miles greater than the post for Suva Street from Loveland to the Foster. So they definitely are speeding within that the project limits here. No question about that. So this results, we use this criteria, this information to have a better evaluation. We were doing 1 day before, now we're doing 4 days to get a better handle on the extent of the problem. Allows also better information to be shared with PD so they have a better way to target when the speeding is occurring, so they can maybe send motors out there to kind of isolate when the highest speeding occurs. The speed profiles in your reports, they show the percentage of vehicles and what time of day the speeding occurs. It's valuable to the police department. I talk about putting in another solar speedback sign, which is shown again in figure 5, as we've mentioned in some of the other reports, and we have installed within the city. I mentioned they could be installed mid-block on the east side of Suva, north of Loveland. That was a consideration. After a careful review of all the facts, the volumes, the speeding and so forth, and my recommendations were request city staff to send out a notice to, again, the fronting property owners along Suva Street from Loveland to Foster to determine if the residents desire speed humps be installed. There's definitely speeding out there, but a documented majority of 51% of the property owners' residents affecting that portion of the street is required to support their installation. Number 2 of the recommendations was install 1 radar feedback sign for installation at mid-block in the northbound direction, as mentioned earlier in the report, on the east side of Suva. And that would be almost opposite. We have one for southbound, but we don't have one for northbound. In the interim period before the installation of a new radar feedback sign, I recommended installing a 25-mile-per-hour another sign, large sign, 36-inch on a Telspar post, and until the new solar radar feedback sign could be installed at a later date. And that would be with what we call the diamond grade highly reflective sheeting, so that it's very visible in the evening hours, as well as when the day is dark, a little bit dark or foggy out. The cost for the stop sign in terms of the speed limit sign is estimated at $350. The solar feedback sign, again, based on recent quotes that we received from the vendor doing work for the city, is like $12,000 installed. That's the magnitude of what they cost. So everyone's kind of surprised, but that's I can tell you, having installed these in other cities, that is the market value of what it costs. So with that, and I open it up now to the commissioners for further questions and discussion that you may have.
Okay, if there's no questions from the commissioners, I need a motion for agenda items. Recommendations 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and motion for the approval of all three recommendations.
And a second.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, Madam Secretary, can you please take roll call vote?
I don't know, I'm not on here. We can still hear you. You can? I don't think that those that are remote can hear you. Never mind. I don't know what happened.
Sorry, I don't think you could hear Veronica, but she's having issues. She got logged off. So we will do a quick switch on the desks. If you don't mind giving us a minute, please.
Sounds good. We'll wait till we get her back on.
Hi, can everyone hear me? Okay. I'm
Yes, we can hear
sorry.
you.
I apologize. I'm not sure what happened. It kicked me out. So I'm sorry, may I get who made, I know a motion was made for item number 10, 11. I'm sorry. May I get who motioned that?
I motion that for all three recommendations.
Okay, and then the second?
It was by me.
Thank
Carlos.
you. Okay, and I will take roll call. Chairperson Heredia,
Yes.
Vice Chair Velasco,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrera,
Yes.
and Commissioner Gavilanes. Thank you.
Okay, on to agenda item 12. And this will be for another traffic safety analysis. Ms. Chavez, will you please give the report?
Yes, thank you, Chair Heredia. The traffic safety analysis is for Ramesh Avenue between Clara Street and Scout Avenue relating to a request for speed humps. And Mr. Dennis Barnes will be providing the report. Thank you.
And thank you. As noted in the report, a petition was received requesting the installation of speed humps on Ramesh between Clara and Scout due to reported excessive or speeding activity concerns. So I provided a overview of the project limits. Also on page 2 of the report, we always confirm the street width has to be less than 40 feet. As noted there, the street width is 37.7 feet wide. In terms of my investigation, again, we ordered traffic volume counts and speed survey profiles from Ramesh from Scout to Clara. We wanted to confirm that there is an speeding problem. This is occurring. The residents have made a complaint that it is. Ramesh is a very short 2-lane roadway. It's posted at 25. It's a local residential street, parking allowed on both sides. On page 3 of the report, I provided a summary of what the traffic count and speed profile data was, what it found, what was recorded in the field. And over a 4-day period, it shows that Ramesh Avenue carries an average daily traffic volume of about actually 829 to 900 vehicles a day, which is more than the 500 that we like to see in terms of a street that requests speed humps, has a street width. However, also the speed profile showed that the 85th percentile was only 25. So people are driving the posted speed limit. They are not speeding. There was no confirmation that there was a speeding problem occurring on this section of roadway of Ramesh. And again, on page 3, I report, I should say, I repeated the criteria. Traffic speed humps should be installed only on streets where the posted or prima facie speed is 25 and 15% of the motorists exceed the 25th or the 25 miles per hour by the 8 mile per hour, which means that it'd have to be like 33. So since I could not confirm any speeding problem, my recommendation was to deny the petition. And with that, I would open it up to the commissioners for any further questions or discussion that you may have.
Out of curiosity, has there been any reported incidents on this block or this street?
No, I don't have any knowledge of that. I guess I would defer, and I also would ask Veronica if there's something that's come in that I'm not aware of to your record.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay.
Other than speed humps, is there anything else that we might be able to install or help with, if there's an issue that, the cars do speed once in a while? I know it's a very small street though.
The only, one, of course, recommendation would be if, in terms of, if possible, to put it on the list for additional police enforcement as time permits, to have a motor or vehicle to go by there, to put it on the list. Doesn't mean they'll be out there every day, but it'd be on their list to sometimes. My experience has been a lot of times the speeders, unfortunately, are people that live on the block. And so times to see a black and white or a police car go down the street, it kind of makes people think, reminds them that it's a residential street and to obey the posted speed limit. It's a residential street. So that's one consideration that could be made, to put it on the list for review. There's no other safety issues in terms of signs that I could probably put down in there. It's a short block. I could put a sign. There's an intersection there. It's a T there where Gallant intersects with Ramesh. There's a warning sign that you can install that shows there's in advance. It would have to be down there as you make a left or right turn from Scout. And then you'd put a sign on the right, which is about probably 100 feet, 150 feet from Gallant, showing that it's a T intersection. That might provide additional notice to the residents that there is a cross traffic potential there coming out. But that's all that I would have at this time. And that could be done for both directions.
And I also wanted to share, I know the police department is in the process of receiving 1 or 2 new speed radar trailers. So when those get deployed out in the streets, for example, all these streets that have reported speeding concerns, we would work with the police department to request the deployment of the trailer at different times of the day during the week to capture more speed data. Maybe right now there was the small sample taken didn't show speed counts exceeding the 85th percentile, but if that were to change, we would work closely with the police department to then reevaluate the location and bring forth updated data, and perhaps at that time justification that other speed related traffic safety measures could be implemented, because data would show perhaps if something were to change that there is in fact speeding activity occurring at the different dates and times. So that is going to be a really great tool, working hand in hand with the police department, that these types of items being brought forth to the Traffic and Safety Commission can have additional, eyes and ears out there, besides just the police officer doing enforcement, but actually having data collected and being able to show that to our traffic engineer, and just a tool that would automatically be collecting speeds. So for problem or reported locations. So I just wanted to share. Thank you.
That sounds really great. Yeah, all those recommendations I think would definitely help out in little areas or small streets where there isn't enough justification to install like large items like speed humps. If there aren't any more questions, then I'll need a motion from the commission on the new recommendations and also the staff's recommendation for no installation of speed humps at this time.
Okay, I'd like to go ahead and motion to deny the original request for adding any speed bumps, but also approve. We'll go ahead and move forward with Dennis's suggestions of adding certain signage in that area instead.
Okay, and I need a second.
I'll go ahead and second it.
And Madam Chavez, Secretary, can you please take roll call, please?
Yes, of course. Chairperson Heredia,
Yes.
Vice Chair Velasco,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Gavilanes. I think you're muted, Commissioner Gavilanes. Did I hear you? Did we lose him? Commissioner Gavilanes, was that a yes for you?
That's a yes.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and for the next agenda item 13, Ms. Chavez, will you please give the report?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, next we have a traffic safety analysis for the intersection or for the Scout Avenue street segment from Gotham Street to Emo Avenue. And this is in report to speeding activity, and Mr. Dennis Barnes will be providing the report.
Thank you. Again, as noted on page 1 of each commissioner's report, we summarize the streets that are involved there. There's 3 T intersections there within the project limits of Gotham to Emil. We've got Scott Avenue at Gotham. We got Scout at Remish, and we got Scout at Emil. So that picture 1 gives you kind of what that stretch of roadway. I'm sure most of us have had the opportunity to drive by them many times. The distance from Gotham and Remish is 606 feet, and between Remish to Emil is 531 feet. So it's really only a total segment there of 1,100 feet. All directions are posted with a stop sign and appropriate pavement markings. So it's up to a code in terms of signage and markings. The current posted speed limit on Scout Avenue is 30 miles per hour and not eligible for speed humps in accordance with the city's current policy, as indicated below, which we repeated. Again, posted or prima facie speed is 25, 15% have to exceed the 25 miles an hour by 8. After careful review of this one here, I elected to recommend that we direct staff to request traffic enforcement from the police department to enforce compliance with the posted stop signs and speed limits. Then staff will revisit the area when the new aquatic center is constructed to address changes in any traffic volumes and other impacts in 6 months following the facility becoming operational. Once it's operational, more traffic volume, the volumes will probably increase, more activity, there's a chance that conditions could change. We might have more residents, hopefully not, but it's a possibility that people, the speeding could change and might meet the criteria for possibly speed humps. With that, I'd open up for discussion to the Traffic Commission.
It being the second issue with speeding in the same area, I think it'd be really important for any opportunity for the police department to definitely survey this area a little more to encourage people to drive the speed limit. Again, being a father, I think the biggest concern is the children around this area. We definitely don't want any accidents to happen. But even though the data doesn't support that there's a lot of speeding or a lot of consistent infractions, but I think having the police department be more present will be definitely added bonus for safety.
Okay, I need a motion from the commission to go ahead and go with staff's recommendations 1 and 2.
My first motion.
And a second.
I'll go ahead and second.
Madam Secretary, can you take roll call vote, please?
Yes, Chairperson Heredia,
Yes.
Vice Chair Velasco,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Gavilanes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, for agenda item 14, traffic safety analysis. Ms. Chavez, will you please give the report?
Item 14 is a request for a crosswalk on Eastern Avenue south of Quinn Street, and I'll also turn that over to Mr. Barnes, who completed the traffic safety analysis.
All right,
Thank
thank you. As listed on page 1 of the report, came city council meeting. It was discussed that there was a need for a possible crosswalk south of Quinn. Residents had to walk further to the traffic signal. That was the way it was presented to the department. I completed the investigation of Quinn and Eastern to confirm the geometrics and so forth. The installation of a crosswalk on Eastern. Eastern has carries a ADT of 22,670 cars a day, so it's very busy. Numerous traffic studies have been done over the years in California. Famous ones down in San Diego. There's one in Santa Ana, another one in Long Beach. That uncontrolled crosswalks aren't necessarily safe in the sense that motorists don't slow down and people are in the crosswalk. You see pedestrians get out in the crosswalk, they start walking, they think their car is just automatically going to slow down and stop for them. Unfortunately, that's not the case. We have, as you've heard in the news, many hit and runs up in the LA area. What I did do as part of the investigation, though, I did look at the SWITTers. So the SWITTers, I pulled the accidents, and now we have through 2020. So I went through January 2017 to 20. I wanted to see if there's any accidents going on there. We used to refer to it as a collision diagram, and now SWITTers, we now call it a crash diagram. So if you, I've added in terms of, instead of putting inserting in the report, I've attached it as attachment. So on page 2 of the report, and I'll just jump back a little bit. We've got the location, which shows you Queen Street, shows you Haven Area Road and Eastern. Now for a crosswalk to go on that location, it would have to be, there's a left turn pocket there. It would have to be south of that, down there where the word Eastern, where those cars are by the Quality Auto Parts, perhaps. Somewhere in there where you would have to cut open that median to put a crosswalk in the cross. So I looked at that. And also I wanted to put in some criteria when we look at a crosswalk. I entered that information on page 3 of your report. We look at accidents, speeds, the volume, density, how many pedestrians, roadway width, day and night visibility, channelization. And then I also provided, as I started to comment about the SWITTers, the last page of the report gives you an accident diagram, where they're now called the crash diagram. You can see there's a lot of activity occurring. There was 14 accidents within that time period, not at Quinn, but within the intersection. And there are no PEDs in there for the most part, which is good in that regard. I looked at that, but also, if you're even looking at that diagram, to put a uncontrolled crosswalk south of Quinn, down by the Quality Auto Parts, I would not recommend that. Again, uncontrolled crosswalks with all the studies, not conducive to safety for the pedestrians. The fact that pedestrians have to walk to the signal is probably the safest provision that we could provide out there for pedestrians across, because they're going to have push the button and the signal is on one side is going to change direction, allow them to cross the street. Not mentioned in the report, though, I did look at the volumes there. And there's another consideration when I look at crosswalks and I look at signals, I look at gaps. So with that kind of a volume, I did a mathematical analysis of how many what I consider the minimum gap across Eastern, at least 15 seconds. Over an hour, well, the whole hour, that how many 15-second gaps would I have? And then mathematically it came out with only like 9 gaps because of the speeds and the volume. It's just so depending on what the volume of pedestrians were. I mean, if it's not a ideal situation to locate a crosswalk because there's few opportunities with there just cars would be randomly coming up and speeding unless you had something to stop the vehicles, allow them to cross. With that in mind, all that information, I came up with a recommendation that the Traffic and Safety Commission by motion deny the request for the installation of a painted crosswalk on Eastern south of Quinn. And item 2 of that recommendation was to request staff to revisit the intersection in 9 to 12 months with a review of the pedestrian activity at this location with detailed traffic counts. There wasn't time, did not permit to take any traffic counts there, but for the reason I mentioned, there's no really safe gaps. So that's just on one side to get from the curb out to the median. You'd have to cut open that median and then you got to cross on the other direction. So uncontrolled, I would not recommend it at this time. How do you solve major crosswalks with high volumes? You either can consider what we call going to a level if it warrants it, hawks. And that's when it doesn't warrant a signal. That's another type of device that you push the button and it comes on almost like a signal, stops traffic, the people cross, and then it goes back and it just goes dark again. So with that, all this information, I now open up to the commission for further discussion and questions that you may have at this time.
Yeah, from my familiarity with this intersection on Eastern and Quinn, the next stoplight isn't down to Muller, which doesn't seem that much of a distance to add a crosswalk in that particular area. But that was a request, correct, for the crosswalk to be placed as close as possible next to Quinn?
Near Quinn, as I understand it, yes. And
Okay.
I'd just like to interject that normally when I look at a parking structure analysis, it's accepted and all the research throughout the country that people are willing to walk at least 600 feet. That's not out of line for persons to walk that far. So the distance of looking at Quinn up to Haven Area Road is far less than that.
Right.
It'd be a safer maneuver up there than to put an uncontrolled crosswalk, say down by the Quality Auto Parts or so forth.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned that I guess mostly like overconfidence a lot of pedestrians have when they see a crosswalk and feel like they maybe someone's in a rush and might cause an accident. Fortunately, but based on the data that you provided, there's a lot of accidents on that intersection of Juaneria and Eastern. Thankfully, there hasn't been any pedestrian accidents, but I think that will be risky if we were to add a crosswalk there. So I would highly support you, Dennis, and say to deny this request. And hopefully with further data, we can make a more concise decision on what to do in this particular intersection.
All right.
Okay, I need a motion from the commission to go with staff's recommendation and deny the request for installation of a painted crosswalk.
I press the motion of denying that request.
And a second.
I'll go ahead and second.
Okay, Madam Secretary, can you please take roll call vote?
Chairperson Heredia,
Yes.
Vice Chair Velasco,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Gavilanes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go on to the last item on the agenda, number 15, traffic safety analysis. Ms. Chavez, will you please give the report?
Thank you, Commissioner. The last item, number 15, is for a traffic safety analysis at Habaneria Road and Gotham Street. This is in response to a request for an all-way stop intersection. And the analysis was conducted by Mr. Barnes, who will be presenting the report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, on page 1 of your reports, I bring forward with the request for an all-way stop. The comment was made, there's a history of actions and so forth. And so as part of my investigation, I pull up the SWITTers action reports to see, well, sometimes things can be, I would say, exaggerated, or they over a period of time, there could have been fender benders, what have you. So with that in mind, I pulled the accident data 2017 up to 20. And I did provide a crash diagram. I entered at the back of page 4 of your report. So if you go to the back of the report, page 4, the crash diagram, it shows there was a bicycle, there was a period of basically on 4 years, there were three accidents, one further south of the intersection of Gotham. But basically what we're looking for when we look at an all-way stop situation, we're looking to put in the, and I have it on page 3 of your reports. What is the criteria? What do you look at? What does the traffic engineer look at when he considers an all-way stop? So on page 3 of the report, I mentioned some of the key points in the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. We're looking at 5 or more right angle accidents. So we know that in 1 year period, because we know if we put an all-way stop, all the studies have shown that will reduce those types of accidents. Another consideration is volumes. The vehicular volume entering the intersection from the major street, total both directions, at least 300 vehicles per hour for each of 8 hours of an average day. That's a lot of cars. I mean, it's you'd have to be going down there Eastern and Garfield and maybe even approach the volumes of that magnitude. You're not going to see that out at that intersection. Another consideration is the sight distance. If there's a sight distance issue that cannot be corrected, that's another justification for the installation of an all-way stop. I was looking at page 4 in the crash diagram. It's pretty wide open. There's the visibility is good. If you were to park, stop at the stop bar there, you have good visibility. So there was no sight distance issue. Again, no accident problem as per the always stop criteria. So with that in mind, when I came up with my recommendation based on the review and research, I recommend that the Traffic and Safety Commission deny the request. And also, I also recommended that request staff to revisit this intersection in 12 months with review of the accident data to see if conditions change. And if it's changed, and then staff can do another evaluation of the intersection. And with that, I open up to the commission for discussion and comments.
No questions or comments from my end.
No, I don't believe that sign is necessary, so that's a negative for me. I'm very familiar with that street. It is a busy street, but I mean, it's just not, it's not necessary to have that sign on that street. Yeah, that's a negative for me. That's a no. No, no more comments.
Okay, if there's no more comments or questions, I'll need a motion from the commission to deny the request for the stop sign.
First,
In a second,
No, second.
Madam Secretary, can you please take a roll call vote?
Yes, Chairperson Heredia,
Yes,
Vice Chair Velasco,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrera,
Yes.
and Commissioner Gavilanes.
yes.
okay, and do we have any comments from staff?
Yes, thank you, Chair Heredia. I just wanted to thank the commission for their time and efforts in reviewing the rather long agenda. I know it's usually not this long, but we had to combine some of the pending items from the last meeting. And I also wanted to wish everyone a happy holiday season and look forward to reconvening again on January 4th. Now, I did also want to poll the commission to see about your availability for that meeting, following the New Year holiday, in case anyone was going to be out of town. If you would like to keep that date or possibly consider moving it to the following week. January 4th. If that works for everyone, we will keep it on the 4th. I will be here. I think everyone else is from staff, so.
Yeah, for me it works. January 4th is great.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. I can do that.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. I think
And-
so.
Yeah, that works for me too.
Yeah, January 4th is good.
Okay, sounds good. We'll proceed with the 4th then. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And do we have any comments from the commission?
Yes, nice to see everybody, not in person, in Zoom, I guess. I hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. I know Thanksgiving just passed. We're already in December, and I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And looking forward to 2022. And I hope everybody has a very positive, successful vibe for the new year.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Jason. And if we don't have any more comments from the commission, then I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting for today, and we'll go ahead and adjournment to next scheduled meeting, January 4th, 2021. This meeting is now ended, and it is 6:51 p.m.
Good evening, everyone. See you next time.